Well, President Biden flies to Europe today, his first trip overseas in office. He's got a jam-packed schedule abroad, including the NATO and G7 summits, a meeting with the Queen of England, and a hotly anticipated face-to-face with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Geneva. Weijia Jiang is at the White House. So, Weijia, how has the president been preparing for this trip?
Good morning, Anne-Marie, and good morning to everybody. His press secretary says that the president has been preparing for 50 years, and in many ways he has. First as the chair of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee and then as vice president, but now it's his turn to set the agenda. The president will kick off his trip by meeting with British Prime Minister Boris Johnson on Thursday before heading to the G7 summit. It'll be the first time that the leaders of the world's largest economies will meet face-to-face since the pandemic began. Mr. Biden has stressed that he wants to renew America's commitment to allies after his predecessors sparred openly with them. His goal to rally the world's democracies on issues like the pandemic, climate change, and countering China. He and the First Lady will then visit Queen Elizabeth at Windsor Castle on Sunday before heading to Brussels for the NATO summit. The agenda there is expected to include defense spending, cybersecurity, and Russian aggression. Mr. Biden will cap off the trip Wednesday with his first in-person meeting with Vladimir Putin since becoming president. His advisors say that is less about delivering deals than it is about setting boundaries with Putin about everything from those cyber attacks that we've seen recently to its nuclear program. Anne-Marie?
So, Weijia, here in the U.S. yesterday afternoon, the president ended the infrastructure negotiations he was having with Republicans. Do we know why? Was it just because he had to pivot to, the foreign stuff that he has to take care of, or was it that negotiations were going so badly?
It is definitely the latter. The White House said he walked away because the two sides just could not agree on either the scope of the package or how to pay for it. The White House wanted to spend $1 trillion in new investments, while the Republicans only offered about $330 billion. The president wanted to change the corporate tax rates to help foot the bill, while Republicans hope to repurpose unspent COVID-19 aid. Now a group of bipartisan senators are working on a different proposal, and the president says he plans to keep in touch with them by phone while he is in Europe.
All right, so now to this anticipated face-to-face meeting between President Biden and Vladimir Putin. He's not the only American president that has attempted to draw a line in the sand or sort of deliver boundaries. Does this president also have consequences to back up his stern warnings?
So the U.S. has already penalized Russia under this administration. In fact, for the huge solar winds hack that impacted about 18,000 private companies and U.S. agencies. And there were new sanctions issued, and the administration expelled several Russian diplomats. So, the president has already sent the first message that he was not going to tolerate any bad behavior. But then, after that, we saw several more cyber attacks that intelligence believes is linked to Russia. And so the question here is, what would more punishments have to look like? What are those bigger consequences? And, I've talked to cyber security experts who say Putin is clearly testing this administration and President Biden to see how far he can go before some action that he sees is worth changing his behavior for. But again, security advisors are not expecting that Putin will necessarily sign any paper or even agree to anything. But this is a real opportunity to reset the tone because, as you mentioned, the last president, Donald Trump, of course, took a very different approach with Russia and with adversaries in general. And he thought being friendly and trying to warm up the relationship was the strategy. This is not that. So Mr. Biden is expected to send a very firm message to stop.
All right, Weijia, thank you very much.
Sure.